Good evening, my name is Ken Egbert, and I've read through your Hilliard guidelines, and I want to suggest to you that I know it's difficult for you as a appeal board to look at your city zoning inspectors and say, look, there really wasn't a violation here. And I'm going to suggest to you, and I hope you have an open mind as appeal board members, and just consider it just for a moment here, whether or not this truly is a violation. First, I'm sure you've read through the old Hilliard guidelines, and you have to agree it doesn't cover murals. And that's why I submit to you that what we see on the screen there, no doubt that's a mural. That's a piece of art. And murals simply are not covered by your old Hilliard guidelines. And as a result of that, Kelly Daniel shouldn't have been cited. Kelly Daniel shouldn't be here today, appealing a violation that never was. Now, alternatively to that, I want to suggest that there's no violation, because there is a difference. And I know we're talking semantics here, but there is a difference between the words shall and should. So if you say, look, we still think perhaps there's a violation here because the guidelines say should be two colors, I want to suggest to you that if the whole old Hilliard guidelines were enacted for purposes of making that mandatory, they would have said shall. There'd be no question if the guidelines said shall, that Kelly Daniel was in violation because there's 9 colors there, not 2. But it says should. And by saying should, it certainly permits discretion as far as this board in deciding whether or not in this situation it's appropriate to allow them. Since they are guidelines, they're not laws, guidelines, as opposed to hard and fast rules. Should versus shall is an important point. I think you had a good discussion about that, except they really do have meaning. Words have meaning. And to suggest that should really mean shall, I think you're misinterpreting your own guidelines. Now, when we all began this meeting tonight, we all took a pledge of allegiance flag. And as part of that pledge that we all took, it was to have justice for all, liberty and justice for all. And as a zoning board of appeals, you have the opportunity to exercise the police powers of the city of Hilliard in terms of regulating what the neighborhood should look like, but you're also going to balance that against the individual right of expression, which is Kelly Daniel's right as a property owner. This was painted on her own property, her own building. And if you say, well, it's a building, so it's 2 colors, there really is a difference between should and shall. And for that reason also, I'd suggest there's no violation. Now, if you're saying, look, I'm not buying that, I don't think we should rule that way because you have a concern that you're going to have 9 or more colored murals all over Hilliard, I can understand that concern because there should be some reasonable regulation as far as what the look is of a neighborhood, the look of a community is. And certainly in Hilliard, there's a certain look that you want to preserve because it's important to Old Hilliard. I'm going to suggest to you that you think, you know what, you still think there's a violation. I'm going to suggest to you that you do something a little bit more courageous here tonight, and that would be to table your decision. Table the decision because you want to recognize that you're pretty much in the middle here. And as appointed officials, perhaps maybe it might be wise to suggest that your elected officials, meaning the city council and your zoning and planning commission, get together and discuss and resolve this issue. They've sat back during this whole time this issue's been pending and have done nothing. Why don't you, in fairness to both the people of Hilliard and to Kelly Daniel and Ed Daniel, send this back to your city council and your zoning commission and say, look, I think you can do better. As elected representatives of the people of Hilliard, why don't you try to resolve this so it's a win-win? A win for the city, that you have regulated mural regulations, and a win certainly for the individual citizens who, going through the right procedures, certainly can get murals painted, and it can improve the community. And from the Columbus Dispatch and Penn News, and certainly all over Central Ohio, and I think it's become more of a regional and statewide issue, people are watching this because they want to know, what's Hilliard what does Hilliard want to be like? Does Hilliard want to permit expression and have reasonable regulation? Or do they want to use the police powers, the governmental powers, and say, you know what, we're not open to that. We're saying the rules are rule, and we're just going to find a violation, get rid of this mural. And that's why I want to suggest tonight, fairness, since we all took the pledge, justice for all, perhaps maybe just table this and see once that the elected officials can resolve this issue for the betterment of everybody involved.
Can you state your address, where you live?
Oh, okay. I put on the sheet 379 Cove Street, which is in Tiffin, Ohio.
Okay, so you do not live in Hilliard.
Correct.
You do not live in Old Hilliard. You don't live
Correct.
close to the Daniel. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay,
Correct. I'm
thank
a
you.
citizen
I
of
just
the state of
wanted-
Ohio.
Right. I just wanted to state.
And I've been following this.
I just want to make sure, because Mr. Gilmore, at the beginning of the meeting, said that witnesses needed to be directly related and within the district. So I'm just making sure that we verify that tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.